Mother, what are we doing here? What is the purpose of life on Earth? What are human beings walking around on this planet for?
You are specially made by God, you are specially chosen by God to be human beings, and you are here with a very great purpose. The first purpose of God is that you should become the vehicle of God's powers completely, so that He flows through you. He flows into this atmosphere, into this universe, to make it a divine place. When you get realization, what happens? All your abnormalities drop out and you become very normal person. And these vibrations of cool breeze start flowing. With this now you can give it to Mother Earth. You can give it to the plants. You can give it to the trees. The whole thing becomes a garden of Allah, where you reside in complete joy and happiness. The second purpose is that God has prepared you now to settle into His kingdom. That's your throne. That's your right to be there. It could have been short-circuited at a time when Adam and Eve were called and told not to go into this so-called book of knowledge or the fruit of knowledge. But they didn't listen. You see, if you give freedom to someone, then what's wrong? So they started doing things which were brought to them by a satanic force, and they accepted it. So that was the original sin we have committed. So they had to take incarnations, do all those things, and now brought it to this level where human beings have to be brought again back to the position where they were to go.
Mother, what is the true nature of death? Is it possible that we can choose not to die? What's the purpose of death?
See, death is just like changing your clothes. So sometimes when you use too much of your clothes, get tired, you want to change it. Like that, death is, nobody dies. There's nothing that dies, except that the part that is the Mother Earth and the part that is the water falls off, and you remain as you are. But if you are a realized soul, then you have a choice. If you want to be born again, you would like to be born. If you don't want to be born, you will not be born. But after realization, it becomes your choice. If you want to die, you can die. If you don't want to die, you need not die. But you won't, because you think that let us die and come back as new people again to help Mother.
Many of us have heard discussions or read in books about the evolution of matter, the evolution of substance. What are your views on evolving matter, and how does this relate to our own physical matter in our bodies, our cells?
So the matter did go into evolution, you know that. And when the carbon was established, actually our first chakra was established, that's carbon, which is tetravalent. And carbon is the one we started producing amino acids. You see, when amino acids started manifesting itself, then the other processes took place by which the evolution of, say, from amoeba to human stage took place. That also we understand very well after getting realization how we became from amoeba to human stage. And after human stage, we have to achieve our self-realization, means the spirit which is in our heart has to manifest in our attention, or we have to feel it on central nervous system. But what is the relationship between matter and this? We should see that point is important. Now through the matter all our centers are made. For example, the two centers that are down below are made of the Mother Earth principle, and then another one and another one like that. All these elements have contributed to make the centers, and these centers are just like mirrors made, and the reflection of the divine falls on them. Then at a human level, the matter improves so much, goes into such evolutionary processes, that the reflection at the heart level improves so much that the spirit shines there, and the kundalini is properly set for your evolution, which is the epitome of evolution. Like this instrument that is made one by one, first collecting this part, that part, then put together. Now the time has come for you to be put to the mains. Now this has nothing to do with the electricity, if you see. exist without electricity, but it can carry the electricity. In the same way, we become the lamp, and when we become the lamp, the light can be brought in and we become enlightened. So there is a big relationship between the lamp and the light. But light can not exist without the lamp, so lamp has to be there.
Mother, can I ask you a question about sex?
Yes, please.
It was stated today that sex has nothing to do with evolution the way it's been described in Sahaja Yoga. What does this mean?
You see, the thing is that we think that by doing sex or by going into sex we can evolve is absolutely false. You have not become a human being from amoeba to this stage by doing sex, because animals all do sex, everybody does sex. If they do it or not makes no difference. The thing is, the evolution takes place only through your seeking. When you start seeking something, then only you evolve. And the seeking first was for food. If you see in the animals, was for food. You see, sex was spontaneous. They don't think about it, they don't read about it, they don't have any education about it, nothing. Sex comes spontaneously, just like your breathing, you see. You don't have to have, as you have in your schools now, teaching sex. What is there to teach? I don't understand. I mean, it is such a spontaneous thing. On the contrary, the more you talk about it, the worse it becomes, you see. And the more it becomes a brain thing, you cannot do sex with your brain, you see. So it's all a nonsensical thing. All these things have added to your problems of impotency and all sorts of things in this country. Too much thinking about sex. At the time of sex, you are nowhere. You are lost. So what's the use of such a life, you see? So the people who think about sex too much are really very unnatural people. They are very unnatural. To be natural is to keep it spontaneous, to live very spontaneously. Of course, as an Indian lady, it is too much to speak on details, but I would say that we are not supposed to even say the word sex in Indian life. You see, it's like that, you see. But I think we are very potent people. The amount of children we are producing, you can never produce, even if you want to. So, now the thing is that as a mother, I give all sort of grace to these people, grace marks, I should say, when they said that the sex can take you to Kundalini. Because, in the beginning, they must have tried something like that. And they must have seen the expression of the deity, which has got a trunk, you see, which is settled on the center. We call it as Ganapati, who actually incarnated as Christ on this earth later on. But he is the Ganapati. And there you see just the trunk. And they must have misunderstood that this trunk is the Kundalini because it has a shape like that. And that's why they might have said it. But it's the most dangerous thing. If you go through sex, then you open yourself absolutely to hell. If you go towards sex and try to come to God, is absolutely wrong. See, Christ has gone to such a limit because Christ was born here and he looks after our all optic lobes and all this part of the eyes. And what he said, thou shalt not have adulterous eyes. Just see. What does that mean? That means you have innocent eyes. He was innocent. He was the embodiment of innocence. Thou shalt not have adulterous eyes. No lust and no greed in your eyes. Now, it's only possible if Christ is awakened within you. Once he's awakened within you, then you will have your innocence and you will also lose the lust from your eyes. Eyes will be absolutely looking but not getting involved. That sort of a thing will happen to you. So the sex, which is a normal thing to do, has to be sanctified by collective people, should be done in a proper way so that you get good children. The marriage should be sanctified collectively and should be done in a proper way and should be looked after. Because now, of course, people are on a different line. But when I had come 10 years back, when I told them that you have to have sanity about sex, they were very angry and they said, you are Victorian. They called me Queen Victoria. But now I think they have learnt a lesson because I had told them that you will get a disease which you will not be able to overcome. Don't do all this nonsense of perversion. It's very nonsensical. But even now they are trying to evade the issue. Don't try to evade the issue. You can be cured of that disease if you can awaken your innocence within yourself. Through the grace of Christ only we can do it.
Mother, we have heard that when we learn love, then we shall have will. What is the relationship between love and will?
When we have love, then we'll have will. Good. Love is when you become the Spirit. Because Spirit is nothing but God's love. It's all-pervading power. It's Spirit. So when you know that love, which is not attachment, it's not attachment. You see, like a sap rises in the tree, it goes to even to the trunk, and then to the branches, to the leaves, to the flowers, to everyone. It doesn't settle down into one flower. If it does, then the flower dies and the tree also dies. So it is not attached, but it is nourishing. It does what it has to do. That kind of a love, which is absolutely without any conditions, unconditional, without any lust, without any greed, that kind of a love, when you will know that is only possible when you will become the Spirit. Then you will know the will of God. The will of God, what is to be done. Because you don't know. Now you have to, then when you get your realization, what happens? This cool breeze is like a computer working. You ask the computer, now, should I do this work? If it is yes, you will have cool vibrations. If not, no vibrations. So you will know His will. Thy will be done. You see, how do you know His will? Then you just know. You become the knowledge. When you become the knowledge, when you become the love, then you become the knowledge. Even in everyday life, if you love somebody, you know a lot about that person.
Mother, this afternoon you said something very interesting in response to a question by a woman. And the response that you gave was that service and sacrifice are a myth, or is a myth. Can you describe what you meant by that?
You see, when I said that when you become a saint, in the sense when you become a realized soul, you find that you are collectively conscious. Then what happens that if somebody has got a problem, you feel it on your fingertips. Now you rub your fingertips and the person feels all right. Now you have done no service, you have done no sacrifice. It's your finger that is in trouble. Now if you rub your finger, who is the other? You see, this comes out of ignorance. And those in India, actually, they knew it so well that those people who talked of sacrifice and service were called as Shudras, means untouchables. That means they had no knowledge about it. Those people who talked that we'll serve you, you'll do this dirty work of yours, that dirty work of yours, they were called as Shudras. They are not the people who should be touched because they have no awareness that the all-pervading power of God is there, which does everything. What you have to do is to just become one with it. And once you are one with the whole primordial being, say on your body, if there's a pain somewhere, you just rub it. All right, you rub it and it's all right. There's no obligation on it. In any way, you have not served anyone, you have not obliged anyone. So the concept that you are one with the whole itself is the noble concept. And those people who do not have that concept cannot understand. They think we are serving others, we are looking after others. Who is the other, I ask them. Who is the other? That is why this is the concept with which Indians have always lived. That's something good they have. But they also picked up, you see, when your missionaries went there, they also started their missions. They start serving and all that. Now to the poor people, now how do we serve? We serve in this way in Sahaja Yoga, that once they get their realization, they don't remain so poor at all. You see, because first of all, the poor people have bad habits of drinking, all those things drop on. So all that money doesn't go into nonsensical things. Secondly, they get those vibrations. Now whatever work they are in, they become dynamic. They have no health problem. They don't have to go to the doctors. They become healthy people. Mentally, they are so alert that they do better than any other. We have seen people who came to me and said that our children are very bad at school, must do something about them. When they got their realization, now they stood first. They got all the scholarships, everything. They are doing so well. So such people become also materially better off They don't become extraordinarily rich, but they become materially well off, satisfied people. You see, also dissatisfaction is another poverty. Because you are dissatisfied, I think those are the greatest poor people, because they are never satisfied. But the people who are realized souls are satisfied souls, they know how to live well, and they are helped. Like Krishna has said it, yoga kshema vahamyam. He said, I'll give you kshema after yoga. First he said yoga, and kshema means your well-being. So well-being acts after yoga, not before.
Mother, in the West there's a great, especially I would say in this part of the West, on the West Coast, there's a great interest in subjects such as Kabbalah, tarot, astrology, spiritual alchemy. How does Sahaja Yoga relate to these? What are your
I
views
can't
on
understand. That means they are not seekers, those who have such interest. You see, because these things relate to a material life. It's
How
just,
do they relate to a material
you see,
life?
because Kabbalah will tell you when will you get married, or how much money you'll have, what race you'll win, all those things. You see, God has no interest in these things. You see, all these things are spiritual alchemy. How will you change this into gold? And what does it matter, gold and all those things? What are so important? Isn't it the most important thing is to be your spirit? And those who are seeking the spirit are real seekers. All others are seeking money in some other form. You see, and then when they go to these people, actually these are nothing but spirits, and they get possessed by spirits, and they have a horrible time. You see, one should never indulge into these things. Christ has warned the most of all, and we are doing it. So often it's very wrong to ask for anything material like that. Why should we have easy money like that? It's not good. I think through some spirit helping you or something. I don't know if it really helps. It may a little bit help, but give you later trouble. Like one lady had a problem with her husband. You see, she said that he's a bad man, he's a flirt and all that. She went to such a woman, and he became, as far as she's concerned, he gave up flirting, but he started racing. Then he got lost in racing. Then she went there and she said that now he should be all right from racing, he should get out. So he started drinking. And after some time he started doing all the three things, you see. So it was too much. So this kind of nonsense we should not indulge into if you are seekers. But there are a category of people who are seekers, that's what I feel. And those who are seekers are getting into it should get out of it and get to your spirit.
What's the role of the artist in this work, this Sahaja Yoga? An artist, artistic work, like music.
Oh,
and
great,
painting.
tremendous it is. You see, those people who have been realized souls have created eternal art. Like we can say, Michelangelo was a realized soul. So his work is eternal art. They produce art which creates vibrations. You can feel vibrations from him. In the whole church, if you go, you feel horrid, but when you go to Sistine Chapel and see his work, the whole thing fills you up with vibration. They are creators of vibrations, imagine. The musicians like Mozart creates vibrations, but Wagner, you see. So they are the people who are realized souls. You have some tennis players who are realized souls also, perhaps.
Tennis players.
Yeah. McEnroe is a realized soul. And Borg is also. And my grandchild told me, you know why Borg has retired? Because another Sahaj Yogi has come now, the younger one, so give chance to him. And that's why he is very honorably retired. Because when McEnroe speaks, you must have seen, he tells himself, John, now behave yourself. They are in the third person. And that's why people don't understand him, and he doesn't like to be insulted. And that's very true. Anybody who is a saint doesn't like him to be insulted. So like that you have so many people who are realized souls, we can say. Even the Princess of Wales is a realized soul, and the new child is a realized soul. So there are so many people like that who are realized souls.
The listeners who will be tuning into this program on the radio won't have had the experience of being in your presence. Some of them may have, who are in this room. What can you say to them about how to become a realized soul, or how to achieve this cool breeze that comes from
At the beginning
touch
of my lecture, if you tell them that they should put their hands towards the radio, just turn the radio, they might feel the cool breeze. If they don't feel it, then tell them to put the right hand first till they feel the cool breeze, and left hand up as if ventilating out. And then the left hand towards the radio and the right hand up. It might work out because it has worked in Hong Kong.
Well, I'll tell you something interesting. I interviewed Danny and Doug before you came so that listeners would have a chance to come here. And one of them called me and said that he went into a meditation in the afternoon and felt the cool breeze just by hearing them talk.
See, if Sahaj Yogis can do it, then when I am talking, it should happen.
We're about at the end of the interview, and what I want to do now, Mother, is give you a chance to say what's in your heart to say. What is there that you wish to share that has not been said this evening?
I have to say that America is a great country in the universe. It has the place of the Vishuddhi Chakra, which is the center of responsibility and discretion. And they have been so responsible so far. They have given such noble ideas of democracy and of freedom and all those things which are really all belonging to God's ideas. And when they talk of all these things, we must know that there is something much more that they can give to the whole world. So many saints are born in this country because they realize that this is the country where they will be able to prosper better into their spirituality. So it is a very great responsibility of Americans to understand that we have had great leaders, we have had great noble ideals, we have got great saints living here. So many are anxious to come down here. Only thing what we have to do is to establish within ourselves our spirit and to be ready and prepared for this great, tremendous work that is going to come now. And this is what the world has to do. If emancipation of the humanity has to take place, it has to take place only from inside out and not outside in. Another thing I would like to tell that the danger is not from outside for America, not from anywhere else. It is from within themselves. So be careful. We have to be careful about ourselves, the way we are destroying. When we say what's wrong, we go headlong into our destructions. Human beings should not take freedom as abandonment, but freedom to enjoy completely and fully. The freedom that takes you to a destruction is not freedom. And the right idea of freedom must be taken, and people should know that freedom, ultimate freedom, is when you become your own master. When there are no habits, when you cannot be dominated by anything, you are above everything. That's the freedom you have to achieve. And that is why people talked long time back in this country about freedom. They helped all the countries to get their freedom, and now it is their job to get them their own freedom within themselves so that others will also follow. May God bless you all.
Thank you, Mother.
May God bless you.